So let's say you're starting out with SpaceVim and you love it, but you're wondering if there are a few things you can add to make it even better. Well, today I'm going to show you 3 extensions that can do just that. Let's go. Alright, let's get started and let's jump straight into Vim. And we're going to start with the first thing that you see when you look at my SpaceVim compared to yours, and that's the status line. Now, the status line in SpaceVim is detailed enough. It shows enough information to get the job done, and you can customize it to a small extent. But it didn't look good enough for me. I didn't love the fact that it wasn't very colorful. There are certain things about it that I wanted to change but couldn't, and that's where Airline came into play. Now, before I go any further, let me remind you that to install this plugin or any other plugin that I show you here today, go in your init.toml, which is in your .spacevim.d directory in your home directory, and add this My Custom Plugins section, and simply type in custom plugins in double brackets, repo equals, and the URL of the plugin you want to add. In this case, we're doing Airline, and then merged equals 0. Then you'll have the Airline or the plugin that you want to add. So with Airline, the thing that I like about it the most is that it's customizable. There are many different color schemes that you can add to it to make it look a certain way, and for me this is just the best one. Also, when you go into various mode, whether it's insert, normal, V-line, or even just regular visual mode, or even V-replace, the colors change. And I'm a visual person, so I like seeing the change of what mode I'm in, not just to look at, down here and say, oh, I'm in normal mode, or I'm in insert mode, or I'm in V-line mode, or just visual mode. I like the color changing as well. So for me, this is sort of the best layout that I could get. Now, you also want to get Vim Airline themes, and the reason is with that, you can actually go in and change to any sort of theme that it comes with. So go into the command mode, Airline theme, and hit tab, and you can go in and pretty much select a wide variety of themes that it comes with that Airline themes defaults. Basically, there's a lot of base 16 themes. You have to kind of scroll down to get to the other ones that aren't base 16, but once you get there, there are a decent amount of things out there. That's kind of nice that you can have that really kind of help make things look as good as they possibly can. Really, with this, you can make it your own, you can change it and do whatever you want to it, and that's sort of the benefit of using Airline versus the built-in status line with SpaceVim. Now, there are a few settings here that I want to show you for Airline that can make it even better out of the box. So if we jump over to the autoload SpaceVim.vim file and go over to my custom settings, you can see that I have a few things here set for Airline. So first off, to get the arrow symbols working and the other fancy looking stuff going on in Airline, you do need this line added. Let G Airline Powerline fonts equals 1, and then on your terminal emulator you need to have either a nerd font or a Powerline font in order to get this to work properly. And I'll leave a link in the description to both nerd fonts and Powerline fonts that you can go in and install on your computer to get this working properly. But in order for the fancy look of it and the effects and whatnot, you do need to have Powerline fonts. Now, the extensions tab line enabled, this is up here. So if we go up and go into the home directory and I jump into just any random file, if I switch between the two different buffers, you can see that it highlights which one we're on and which one we're not. You get that same arrow line symbol effect, and that looks pretty cool. In order to get that, you do need the tab line enabled extension changed to 1. If you want to set your theme for Airline by default, this is also where you do it. You can, you go through like I showed you before with the command line, and then you start, looking through at all the themes that are available. When you find one that you like, type it into here and it will show up that way by default. Otherwise, it will automatically default, and let me show you here to the dark theme, which for me kind of clash with the colors a little bit. It does look really nice. The colors are quite bright and vibrant. There's even a special color for command mode, visual mode, v-replace mode, and it is nice, but the colors were just a bit too bright and contrasted with my color scheme of Vim itself, so I changed that to Murmur, but that's just for me. You might want to do whatever you want, but to set that, you do that here. There is also, I'll talk about the COC in another video, and then the scroll status, that is just an additional extension that I've added right here that adds the little visual indicator of where you are in a file. So if I jump to the beginning of the file, it'll start off to there. If I go back and grep for settings, tab down, you will see then that it moves over to give you a visual representation of how far you are into the document. These are the settings that I set for that to get it to look the way that it does. By default, it looks a little different, but in order to get it to properly show up on your status line, you do need to enable this line in your SpaceVim.vim file. One final note I need to make about Airline before we move on to another plugin is that in your init.toml file, you need to add this into your file, otherwise Airline won't work properly. So layers, name, core, status line, enabled false. If you do not enable this, then if you save a file, edit a file, sometimes it kind of randomly depends on what you do, the Airline will disappear and it will default back to the regular SpaceVim status line. And able to keep that from happening, to have Airline always be present no matter what and always override the SpaceVim core status line, you need to enable or add this rather to your init.toml file, config file. So the next plugin I want to show you is Sneak. Now what Sneak does is it allows you to jump to characters in your file very, very quickly. And you kind of get the same effect when you use T in just base Vim or NeoVim, but I find Sneak is a lot faster in my opinion. And to get this thing set up, you go into your myconfig.vim file in your .spacevim.d/autoload directory. This is a custom file you create to set up Vim settings and remaps and things like that. This is where you would go to set up Sneak. Now how it works is you would type S followed by 2 characters. So in this case, I want to jump down to here where it says sneak plug sneak _s, and I'm going to type capital P L, and it automatically jumps me down. If I want to scroll through the results, I hit semicolon, which jumps me to the next result in the list, PL, and there might even be another one, but I doubt it, and there is. There's another one down here for COC settings. There is a way to go backwards with capital S. So if we go through the results and then we overshoot it, we could once again just hit capital S, P, L, and then it will go up. So that's the way to do it, but there's no quick way to be able to just scroll up from where you were. You have to redo it over again, either with lowercase s or uppercase s. It is still a really powerful plugin and works really well to quickly jump to certain characters in your document that you're trying to get to. And the final plugin I want to show you here today is ControlP. Now this was inspired by Visual Studio's code ControlP feature, where you hit Control-P and you get a result of the most recent files you've worked on, and you can start typing in the name of a file and it just shows you the results. You don't have to go in through a file manager and a directory and all that crap. You just start typing in the name of your file and it starts working. And here in Vim, it does something pretty much exactly the same. So let's say I'm here in the home directory and I want to jump to my kitty config, which is for terminal emulator. I don't want to jump in through .config and then find kitty and then find the kitty config. I just want to get to it right here, right now. So all I have to do is type in kitty, and there it is. I hit enter, and it jumps right to it, and I am now in my kitty config terminal. There we go. We can get that to work. So it really is that fast, and you can then go from here and let's say, okay, I'm done with kitty and I want to jump to something else. Well, I can easily do that and go from here over to my documents directory to bring up my about.txt file because I want to mess around with this for a little bit for whatever reason. Now let's say I wanted to get back to kitty.conf. And let's say for whatever reason, the buffer I had for it, we're going to close out of it. Okay. The buffer for it is closed, gone, but I want to jump back to it. Well, normally you might think, okay, hit ControlP, kitty.conf, and then you jump right to it again. But actually, there's a better way. Hit ControlP, then ControlP a second time, and it brings up the last thing that you typed in. And you can actually keep pushing this over and over and over again, and it will bring up all the last things you recently searched for. So in this case, we're going to exit out of there, go into ControlP, and then keep typing it until we get to kitty, hit enter, and we're back in kitty again. It's really fast and really powerful. Now, I do want to make a quick note about something, that there is some configuration that's necessary to get it to work the way that I have it set up here for you. So we're going to go into my autoload SpaceVim.vim directory. We're going to grep for my custom settings section, and we're going to scroll down here and jump over to ControlP. These are the settings that you need to enable in order to have it work the way I did. So search by file name. By default, ControlP doesn't actually search by file name. Instead, it searches by directory name. And if that's what you're looking for, then just leave it by default. But for me personally, I wanted file name, so I changed it to ControlP by file name equals 1. The match window showing max results, by default it only shows about 10 results, but I wanted to show a few more, so I changed that to 15 for every single thing I type into. And then this is an important one, let G control show hidden 1. This is important because if you do not have it showing your hidden directory, you will not be able to see anything here. You won't be able to go into your config fules, into any hidden directory. It has to be able to show hidden files, or else you won't be able to use this functionally at all. Now, there is one thing I want to make a note about, and you watch, it'll start working for me because I'm making this video, that if you are in a Git directory and you try to leave the Git directory and bring up a file from somewhere else, like your .config, documents, downloads, it won't actually work. So if I go into here and I type in kitty, no entries show up because I'm currently in a Git directory. If you want it to work like it normally did before, you do have to exit out of Vim and go back into it. So if you go into either another file that isn't in your Git directory, you can then use it like you normally would, or you can quit out of Vim, go back into it, and then hit ControlP again and start searching for whatever it is that you're looking for. But do know that with whatever file you're working on, if it is in a Git directory, you won't be able to search for anything outside of that Git directory. And those are the 3 extensions that I wanted to show you to add to your SpaceVim to make it even better than it was by default. And I'll leave a link in the description to all the plugins that I showed you here today, so you can just take them and drop them into your init.toml file. But really, these were designed just to make things a little easier, to make SpaceVim look a little bit better, to make it easier to maneuver around your file you're working on, and of course to jump between different files from the one you are currently on. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. See you.